So hello everybody, so my name is Fabien Villeroy. I am one of the VP for CGI France in charge of the manufacturing industry. And today it's a pleasure for me to be with you during the Power of Unified Manufacturing event. We are going to talk about data, but not for a technical point of view, but more than a business one, in fact. We can say that actually it's crucial for manufacturing and manufacturers company to start moving toward offering new services in order to generate new revenue. And this session will look at how manufacturers can start to pivot from new ways of servicification. And to do that, I have the pleasure to present two fantastic and great guests. So thank you so much. So Seth Pack from Michelin and Eric Chaniot from Microsoft. So again, Seth and Eric, thank you so much to be with us for this event with CGI. Again, thank you so much. Maybe we can start this discussion by a roundtable. So quickly, maybe Seth, you can start.
Sure. So hello everyone, and thank you Fabien and CGI for having me. And so I guess I can start with just kind of explaining who I am. So I'm the head of innovation for an organization called Mobility Intelligence, and so within that, and I'll explain it a bit further later, but certainly in my role I'm looking at what are the new growth opportunities in terms of data businesses.
Great, thank you so much, Seth. Eric?
Yeah, so thank you, Fabien. Thank you, Seth. So I'm Eric Chaniot. I'm the global practice lead for automotive mobility and transportation. And what that means is that we're helping, customers, in the automotive mobility and transportation, to go through their digital transformation. We help them, going through the digital transformation. And prior to that, I was the global chief digital officer of Michelin for 6 years. So I led the digital transformation of Michelin.
Okay, thank you so much. So just before starting, I would say your presentation, because I think you have, I'm sure you have a lot of written of experience to share and advice to give. I just want to make a quick introduction about this session. So why CGI? We have decided to talk about data, and especially business around data, business model around data. In fact, each year, CGI, we organize and manage a campaign, a great campaign, which is called VOC, so the voice of the client. We interview nearly 1,600 clients, and a large part in manufacturing. So automotive market, transport, I would say chemical industry, pharmaceutical industry, etc., in order to get directly from the client a lot of information about the market trend, the IT priorities, the business priorities, etc., and of course some information about data. And during the last session in 2021, what kind of feedback we get from the client about the market of the data. The first one is business about data is growing, and I think is growing a lot. In 2020 and 2021, we analyze across the VOC that from the business side of the client organization, data and data analysis is one of the top 5 priorities. So this is key for all the clients, and ability of a manufacturing company to collect, to customize, to leverage the data is growing as well. And we can find some clients at the end of the day which have a success business story with monetization, and I'm quite sure that Seth, you have a great story to explain, especially on this topic. So this is for the point 1. The point 2 is investment is growing a lot as well. Our client wants to find some use case and business case based on data technology to develop globally the business. They need to find the good idea, etc., etc. And they invest also in the executive management system. So it means that today, for the client, data is key to speed up the productivity, for example, of supply chain, for order to cash, for logistics, etc., etc. And for example, in France, from the client in France for CGI, across all industry, not especially for manufacturing, data is the first line of investment for the next 3 years. The point 3 is talent war. In fact, in order to make the project, we need to have the best engineer. And when I say we, is a software company, IT company like CGI, but client, today it's quite difficult to find the good resources with the good skill. The market is very, very hard on this topic everywhere in the world. So we have to, I would say, to have a lot of idea to hire the good people. And the point 4 is about change management. Change management is key for the client, and across the VOC, we analyze the fact that for the client, move from selling products to selling services is a huge challenge. The client said we need to be more accurate on what we want to build as an offer, what kind of data we have to use, what is the market, what is the target. Then we need to train our employees in order for them to be more comfortable with the data technology. And we need to organize a lot of, I would say, awareness session for the board of the client in order to give some message about what we can do with data, what kind of business we can imagine, make the link between the strategy, building the board, and the process, the organization, etc., etc. And in 2021, 65% of our clients mentioned the fact that change management is a strong constraint. And I know that Eric from Microsoft, you have again a lot of advice, especially on this topic. And the point 5, and this is not from the VOC, but this is my personal perspective, is that with data, IT department and digital department, or sometimes both, are now at the heart of the strategy of the company. And in fact, this is a change because we can say that, especially on manufacturing industry, 10 years ago, so 4 years ago, the IT was considered as a cost center, and little by little, I think it's changed, and now it's a lever. It's a lever for us, for the CEO of the client organization, to speed up the business and to accelerate, I would say, the growth of each organization. So it means that the mindset of a CEO is going to be more and more digital, but at the same time, the pressure about the delivery of the IT department or the digital department and the quality of the result is more and more important. So this is the feedback from CGI and my personal feedback from the point 5. Now, I just want to let the mic to Seth from again from Michelin. Because Michelin, you are, of course, a fantastic company with a great story, especially for a French guy, honestly. But you have decided to invest a lot in IT and especially on data in order to continue to grow and to change the way to sell the product and to sell new services. So one question, Seth, why you have decided to invest in data, and can you explain globally the Michelin data business model?
Sure. So I'm sure everyone here knows Michelin, at least as the world's leading tire company. And so we're a $28 billion revenue company. We have more than 124,000 employees. We have products in nearly every country in the world. However, we're a lot more than that, and this is what this slide is helping you to see. We view ourselves as a leader in mobility. And in that, we strive to make mobility safer, sustainable, and accessible. To obtain that goal, over the last decade or so, Michelin has expanded into a number of new domains. Things like vehicle telematics, connected devices, advanced materials, and many other domains which you wouldn't commonly think of as being Michelin. And so as you see in this slide, we aim to have 30% of our revenue come from activities around and beyond tires by 2030. And certainly we're well on that journey. And so certainly we're a company in motion. So why start a data business? So Michelin, like many companies, has a lot of data. We also know that we have a unique know-how and even an authoritative position and expertise in a lot of areas. But we hadn't really capitalized on this data and this know-how. But we knew that we had more to offer and more value to bring to the world of mobility. So we took a deliberate action with tremendous support from the highest levels of leadership within the company to do the work that we needed to do to organize our data, to identify the data that we had, which was unique, and at the same time embark on a strategic journey to understand what value we could bring to the world through our unique expertise and the data we have. So if you fast forward to today, we now have several data businesses within Michelin which are providing unique value to our customers. And to be clear, these are companies within Michelin which solely manufacture digital products. And so one such example that I'll give you is Michelin DDI. Michelin DDI is able to analyze driver behavior and vehicle telemetry, and from that identify road characteristics such as risky zones or areas where drivers are having near missteps, where the road may be in need of maintenance or even a redesign. And we produce these insights through unique data sets and proprietary data science algorithms and AI, and then make that information available to the people who can do something with it. People like departments of transportation or public works departments. And so on the other end of the spectrum, from that, we also have a business called TruckFly. And so TruckFly helps truckers find points of interest that are most relevant to them, be that a place to park overnight, find something to eat, etc. And so once again, we're bringing value to users through data science, but also through an ecosystem of partners. And so in addition to these businesses which provide digital products, we also have a data marketplace, and with that we're providing Michelin data available for purchase in various forms, including APIs. So certainly that's a spectrum of activities from DDI to TruckFly to a data marketplace. And so we have a lot of commercial activity in this realm today, but we also have very high hopes for the future and a vision for how these types of businesses can become an even greater part of the company's value creation.
Great. So thank you so much, Seth. I'm sure that we will have a lot of questions about your case. Personally, I have a lot, honestly. But just starting the QA session and to ask you, I just want to talk with Eric from Microsoft. So Eric, we know that of course Microsoft, everybody is a Microsoft, and we know that you have a lot of return of experience, especially on data and sales services, of course. And I know that a lot of clients, especially from manufacturing industry, come back to you and want to have your advice. So because we know, as we said before, moving from selling product to service, it's difficult. It's a huge journey. So two questions. The first one is, what could be your advice, Eric, to have success on this kind of huge challenge? And for you, what is the baseline to start this kind of new business? And what are the steps, I would say? Because I think we can imagine that we need to manage several steps to achieve the target in terms of business. So what could be your advice?
Yeah, so I think, and I'm going to share my advice, being the ex-CDO of Michelin and then now working for Microsoft. So I think what's very interesting, and I work with most of the big OEMs, in the world. So you think about the big, cars, trucks, OEMs in the world, one way or the other, I'm involved with them directly. And the reason for that is that Microsoft is doing business, with most of these companies. So I think what number one, my advice is that all companies, no matter what they are doing, they should become technology company. And they should become technology company, and Seth, I'm sure, can comment on that. And he talked about the involvement at the highest level in the company. But anyway, everybody needs to be a tech company. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody should become like Microsoft, right? But one of the big things that most of our customers, they are asking us, they say, you know what, we need to be much better at software. And we believe that, software is eating the world, right? And we talk about software define everything. Everything will be software one way or the other. And I think that the first advice that they ask us, they say, you know what, we need to get much better at software. Microsoft, you are the software company. What can we do? What can we do together? And also, of course, with CGI, that we become much more relevant, in terms of software, that we put software as one of the core assets, inside the company. And being a core, software asset, there's really three main topics that we discuss with our customers. So the first one is that they're asking us, on the technical side, what does it mean? And I'm going to use bad words, but DevOps, agile, distributed agile, all these kind of things. So they're really asking us, guys, you know to do that. You have been doing that for years, right? Help us, building the right operating model, governance model, everything to be able to be successful at doing that. So that's one area. The second area is really, as you said, Fabien, most of the companies, they really want to start to sell services like DDI. They want to become services companies, right? And as you know, when you move from a product to a services company, it's a very different story. And then it's a journey. And the discussion we have with them is that there is the tech side, and sometimes companies, they have the tech side, but at the same time, using a product Salesforce to sell services is challenging. So they are coming to see us and they say, you know what, Microsoft, to sell, you have marketplaces, you have, hundreds, tens of thousands of partners, who can build on your platform. Can you help us understanding what is the journey to be able to do that? And now we had so much request that we have something called customer as a partner, when we will help our customers to become ISVs. So that's probably the second topic that is on top of their mind. And the last one is that, it's around data monetization. Most of them, they have lots of data. And to be honest, and I'm sure Seth, you can comment on that, the more connected data you have, the more cost you have at the end of the day. And they are very interested to understand what are the multiple ways for them to be able to monetize the data. And here there is a slide, and I'm sure that everybody can have a copy of this slide. And I use this slide several times with customers, and I love this slide. And the reason, on the left side, you have three levels, right? On the vertical axis, you have data as a service, analytic as a service, and you have insight as a service. And I think it's three dimensions that are not exactly the same, because sometimes everybody, when they talk about data, they put everything, in the same bucket. But there is, it's three levels of services and value potentially that you could extract from potential customers. And then at the bottom, right, you have, how can you monetize that? How can you valorize that? And there is four dimensions: internal. Okay, do you really take advantage internally of your data the way you should? Then there is an exclusive relationship, right? So I'm going to sell only to one company, one of the levels that I was describing before. There is selling in ecosystem, and then there is broadcast. And what's very interesting when I talk to customers is that everybody is dreaming about the top right square. And the top right square is insight as a service, so very valuable. You can sell more, it's more value. And then in a broadcast way, right? So lots of people can have access to your insight, will have access to your insight, right? And to some extent, the top right corner is like a platform. And it's what Microsoft, you are a platform, right? But then the very interesting discussion we have with our customers is, okay, guys, great. You dream about being there, but where are you today? And what is the next move that you need to make? Because I will argue that if you don't have Insight as a service inside your company, then how could you expect selling it to someone, right? So anyway, so what we discuss with our customers, okay, you're there today, you want to be there. What are the steps that needs to happen for you to be able to do that? And there is really two dimensions. There is a tech dimension, but there is also a business model dimension. Because when you move from an exclusive relationship to ecosystem, the value of what we sell, the unit of what we sell will be lower, but you expect to sell to much more people. So anyway, so I encourage everybody to take a look at this slide, think about where you are inside your company. And in a company like Michelin, as you know, there is a lot of different services who could be at very different level and very different stage, but that's really a framework to really, think about the technical and business dimension. And Fabien, that's probably an area also where CGI could help customers, to move the needle, right?
Sure.
So anyway, so that was my short introduction. So.
Okay. Again, thank you so much, Eric, for this presentation, and thank you, Seth, for your feedback and presentation. Could be a great story. I just want to start with one question. So, of course, for the public, if you want to ask Eric or to ask Seth, you have to put your question on the chat. But the first question is for you, Eric, and for you, Seth, in the same time. So the feedback from CGI is 70% of the client explain data is key to growth, and they invest, and they think, as you said before, Eric, they think about the business case and maybe the platform before the status of the moment. But only 5 to 10% have succeed to transform data in business. So why could you explain that? Maybe Seth or Eric, I don't know if you have any feedback on that.
Seth, why don't you start?
Sure, I'll start. I think there's probably many reasons. We could probably spend an entire panel discussion just on this question, I'm sure. But I'll take a swing and I'll say this. I suspect it ultimately boils down to organizational culture, how resources are allocated and prioritized, and even the risk-taking nature of these organizations. As Eric mentioned, for many manufacturing companies, they either lack the technology, the data organization, the homologation, the technical skill sets. But even I'd say what's often overlooked as well is, from my point of view, when you're talking about making this not just something for themselves, but something that you can then sell, lacking the business skill set, right? I mean, you mentioned it as well. You're taking product people and now trying to get them to sell a digital service. And so certainly I think that's a different skill set and something that I think many manufacturing companies have to account for if they're going to be successful in the space. So I'd say all of these things are pretty good deterrents. To change this, I'd say it requires a tremendous investment, an investment in people, an investment in technology, and also the projects you prioritize. Let's take Michelin as an example. I think we can all agree that Michelin is pretty good at making tires. I'd say the best. And as it comes to investment, we're pretty good at forecasting. If we invest, some amount of money into building a new factory for tires, or to develop a new product line, we have a really good idea of what we will get out of that, and we can do that with a degree of accuracy and comfort. Alternatively, anytime you look at a diversification, no matter what it is, or some new innovation, so not just data businesses, but certainly true with data businesses, you go away from something that something you're really good at, something you have expertise in, and something that's safe, and you're going into something that's new and something that's unknown. And so I think this is particularly difficult for manufacturing companies because there's this emphasis on quality, on consistency, and all of the things that are absolutely critical in producing a material object in a factory. And so I'm sure we can agree consistent quality is of huge importance in our industry. Building tires, we certainly want quality tires. Anyone that buys one, I'm sure does as well. So when you shift away from that and start talking about digital products, the rules have to change. And in my view, it's really a 180-degree shift. You go from quality-oriented, efficiency-oriented, Six Sigma manufacturing environment. And now you're building, leading digital solutions, which, obviously require very different approaches. And I'm not just talking about, development methodologies, things like Agile. I'm talking about true culture change, things like risk-taking, celebrating failure, and then fundamentally changing project selection criteria. And so certainly this is a true culture change that one has to embrace to be successful in this new space. And so if you've never done this before, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to work, at least not the first time, and that investment will be lost. And these are the reasons that these types of initiatives require conviction to believe, conviction to be patient, and to overcome the hurdles it takes to develop any new product, no matter what it is. And ultimately the conviction to accept failure and brush yourself off and to try again as a wiser, smarter organization. And so for those who've tried and failed, I would ask, are you trying again? This is a story of entrepreneurship, and, the laws of business physics, if you will, apply here. I think if you look at any of our competitors, we can find examples of hurdles our companies have overcame in the beginning, and how they shifted their value propositions and maybe changed the product entirely from where it all began. And so here we're starting a new business, we're venturing into a new domain, and we have to apply that same level of persistence and ingenuity that we applied before, right? When Michelin or your company or whomever started out, you had to be persistent and have ingenuity to get to where you are today. And if you're venturing into a new space today, it requires the same thing. It's not like we do things now in steady state now as a large industrial company. And so we have to act swiftly. We have to act nimbly, just as before. And just because you may be a big company doesn't mean you're not also a startup. You can be both. And I think you have to act like it if you want to succeed. You can't be big, slow, and rigid and succeed as a newcomer in a new world with, in the space of digital products. You have to find a way to leverage the best of both, to leverage the brand, the heritage, the expertise that your company has, while also acting swiftly and nimbly and persistently, just like your competition that you'll be facing most assuredly will have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Seth. Eric, maybe one comment for you?
No, so I agree with what Seth said, and I will add just three things quickly. The digital transformation of traditional companies, it's 95% about people, mindset, culture, only 5% about technology. So that's exactly what Seth said. So I think just keep that in mind, and it goes beyond, as Seth said, the technology and stuff like that. So number one. The second thing is that I think inside companies, there is some beliefs that there is some data, some insight, etc., and that everything is secret and that everything is so core to the business, right? So I really encourage everybody to really rethink that and rethink really what is really core and what is non-core, right, to your business. Because if you want to make some business with the data, you will need to be able to sell this data, to whoever is interested to buy this data. So I think doing this exercise, what is core to them tomorrow, I think is strategic, because when you really do that, most of it is not core to your core business, right? So anyway, and then the last one, I think very often, is back to what Seth said, very often people, they want to find a silver bullet. So they want to find some insight with a given business model, with a set of customers, and they believe that with that, they are going at least to be break even, or potentially they are going to make money. So my advice is, please don't do that. As Seth said, try several paths, try several go-to-market, try several business model, and it could be that to be break-even, and break-even in software business, it's the beginning of being profitable. It could be that you need to be able to have several kind of business model at the same time, and having several business model at the same time, then you will be able to cover the cost of your operation. So I think that very often people are stuck on one. They put all their eggs in the same basket, and then if the basket is not successful, then they believe that it's not going to be successful. So anyway, I like what Seth said, try several areas, several paths, And then, okay, along the way, you will see, and it could be, again, that even when it would be mature, you will have several ways, to monetize your data, not only one. So that will be my recommendation.
Okay. And just one question, Eric. If I go back to your point one, so you said that the most important thing to change is people, is based on people. So does it mean that for you, I would say the role of technology is not very important, or this is not the same thing?
Yeah, the technology can do anything, everything. And when I joined Microsoft is doing so many things, right? From Xbox to quantum computers, right? So do we have all the technology to do everything that they are dreaming of? Yes. Now, at the customer, do we have the right mindset? People, etc., who are able to take advantage of all the technology coming, from all the technology companies beyond Microsoft? The answer is not always, right? And I understand, because it's very challenging. And I read a book on the operating model of companies, and the operating model of companies and the culture is linked to the life cycle of the products that they make. So think about that, right? When you're a product company, the life cycle, they are long. People, the product life is long, etc. And then they have to, to jump into the digital world where basically there is new things every day, right? And we have even hard time to understand what are the new features that we're going to, that people they can take advantage of. So I think one of the challenge is really, for me, this one. For all traditional companies, the technology companies are making massive investments, are innovative by the minute. Now, how do they take advantage of that? And I think it's a question of mindset, curiosity, being able really to understand, okay, how does it apply, right? Okay, great. I see that, this tech company did this. Okay, how does it apply to my business? And how am I structured to be able to take advantage of it? I think it's probably, you see what I mean, more a challenge of organization, mindset, culture, etc., than the technology itself. Technology, there is more technology than probably what people can consume at this stage, right? And there will be more, and there is more by the minute. So anyway.
Okay, thank you, Eric. I have a question for Seth, but just before, I just want to go back to one point with you, Eric. Seth, I will have a question about the data-driven company, the buzzword. I would say in France we say the buzzword about data-driven company. But just before, Eric, several minutes ago you said that okay, a lot of clients wants to sell services. And they want to make business, etc., etc. But before, they must analyze the maturity of the data. So it means, in fact, the ability of each company to collect data, leverage data, etc., etc., about technology, but not only technology. One question: how you measure the maturity of the client to be able to analyze, I would say, the maturity of the client, their own maturity?
Yeah, I think so there is two things. So a lot of people, they say, data is the new oil, is the new gold, this kind of thing, right? So I will always ask when people, they say that to me, I say, great. So I always ask, okay, great. How many miners do you have in your company who have this obsession on the data? And that's and then after that, fully, people, they are honest with you, and they tell you how many miners they have. And very often, then we see a disconnect between the fact that it's supposed to be gold, but at the same time, there is not that many miners inside the company. The second thing, I think very often, is the quality of the data. So it's something to say that you have lots of data, but it's something else to be able to say that you have high quality data. And then there is the next level, which is, the data that you are getting, are they relevant? And that's back to the framework that I showed you. Are they relevant for you internally? Are they relevant for some specific partners? Are they relevant in an ecosystem? Are they relevant? So when you talk to the people who are working with data inside the companies, guess what? If you break the barrier, And if they are open with you, they know exactly where they are. I think they know exactly the challenges that they have. They know the quality that is good or that is not really good. But I think working probably more even with company like you, CGI, to be able to make this assessment, I think is critical. And again, and Seth, I don't know if you can comment on that, but very often we see different level of maturity, different level of services inside the same company. So sometimes it's interesting to see that in some areas, the quality is good, the data, they are relevant, they know exactly how to sell this kind of digital services, etc. But the problem that often we see is that you see silos inside companies. So you will have a team doing a great job. Now, does it mean that at the company level, the company learn from this team and is applying this learning on everything that the company is doing? That's not that obvious, to be honest, to be really honest. So anyway, if you ask the questions, and that's why I really like this framework, because each time I use this framework, people, they're able to react straight away. And they're able to say, oh, you're right. We don't do that for us. So you're right. How can we expect doing that for someone else? So now, then the discussion is, okay, if we want to have inside as a service for us internally, what does it mean? How do we build that? What needs to happen? You see what anyway. So and then we talk about the tech. So,
Okay.
So I don't know if I answer your question, Fabien, but
it's clear. It's clear. Okay, just thank you, Eric. Just one question for you, Seth, about the I would say the great sentence about the data-driven company. So Seth, you have a great president in Michelin, Florent Ménégo. Because this CEO is really focused on the future, of course, of Michelin, and he said a lot of time in a newspaper in France and all over the world, sorry, that for the next 10 years, maybe 30% of the business of Michelin will be, I would say, out of the tire, and a part of the out of the tire, next to the tire, could be in services, so based on data technology, but. And we know that Michelin wants to become a data-driven company. But for you, in Michelin, what is the definition of a data-driven company? And maybe we can have a quick question as well. Why you want to decide to, I would say, to push the services offer a lot? Because I understand that you have created a business line dedicated on that. Because in fact, and to invest in that, because in fact you are the first tire manufacturing on the world, so you are the leader of your market. So we can say, okay, everything is great in the Michelin world, and etc. etc. And no. You want to challenge your strategy. You want to push new offer, to develop services, and you invest on that. And this is maybe the last return of experience from CGI. We have a lot of meetings with clients, especially on services and data, etc. And we meet a lot of clients to say, we want to do that. We want to have the silver point. Sorry, we want to have platform. We want to make business, but it's difficult to invest. So to find money, easily to find money. So globally, Michelin, what is your definition of a data-driven company, and why we want to push a lot on that?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and what I'll say is that I think as you think about what it means for us and how we got there, I'd say first of all it's not a monolithic answer. I think as Eric was touting earlier, it's certainly not going to be the same even within Michelin or from company to company in terms of what it takes to accomplish that goal. You're coming from different places, and so certainly as we talk about becoming a data-driven company, it's certainly a pole star, if you will, for where we want to go. And I'll say I think it's a continuing journey. I don't think that we can ever put the flag down and say we've arrived. I think it's a continuing journey. I think that we can always get better, but I do think that we've come a very long way. And I think that it ultimately has all come from the leadership, truly. And the reason it's not just because it sounds good to say that or that it's easy, But truly, it's impossible to make the types of change that we're talking about without consistent, very high levels of the change that we're talking about is simply too difficult to do without it. And so, what I'll say is for a manufacturing company like Michelin to also become a digital company, offering data products and services, it's a significant transformation, and it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not something that happens overnight. And for a company like Michelin, as Eric knows very well, it takes years, it takes investment, it takes conviction and patience, and as we've mentioned at length, it requires a culture change. I could probably write a book. I bet Eric probably already has. But in the spirit of time, I'll say this. On the one hand, creating a data product is like anything else. You have raw materials, you fabricate those materials, you produce a product, and you package it in some way. And data products are the same in this way. But what I'll say is that's the part that everyone gets, and but it's not the end of the story. I'd say this likeness leads people like us astray because it's easy for industrial or manufacturing people like us to treat data products like any other. And the reality is that it just won't work. Data products, as we've mentioned, they require different new business models. They require partnerships and partnerships with others, and they exist within digital ecosystems. And so for companies that don't already operate in this way, this can be a really difficult thing to grasp. And so also, as you mentioned, Fabian, it requires that we not see IT as a cost center. It requires that we see IT as a business enabler, or perhaps the business itself, right? And so certainly that's a very big paradigm shift. I think for sure, especially in a manufacturing world where you're looking at the P&L and there's a lot of conscience on cost efficiency and productivity, to say IT is the business. We are a technology company, and IT is the business. That's a pretty to actually put that into reality is not something that happens overnight, and it's a really transformative concept. And so certainly culture change, a lot of vision and leadership from that has to occur. And I think, to be clear, when I talk about IT, I'm not talking about organizations. I'm talking about information technology, and that transcends organizational structures. And I think that's another thing that we have to get beyond, is that IT is not for the IT department, right? IT in these businesses, it's everyone's job. And so while I have more than I actually worked in the IT department at Michelin for more than a decade, I'm not in the IT department today. Okay, I'm in the business line. I'm driving business strategy, but at the same time, the business strategy is the technology strategy, because in my world, I can't separate the two. They're the same thing. And so I'm, whether you call me IT or business, your choice. But I'm not in the full IT department, but the decisions I make are both. And so I think breaking down these silos between business and tech and building the skill sets to where you have talent, which can speak across competencies. We can't have people that only speak tech or that only speak business. You've got to have both, right? You got to have both in the same people. And so that's something that's challenging, to have someone on the one hand that can talk about an indirect sales channel and a software as a service business, and then at the same time in the next sentence talking about monetizing API calls through a subscription model. That's not something manufacturing companies traditionally do, right? And so it's rare when you have people that have that combined competency. But if you want to have a data business like what I'm describing, that's the thing that you have to be successful. You have to have those, those are the types of people you have, and those are the types of conversations those people have to be having. And so it's really a true transformation. And so to synthesize my answer, I think it's all about that pivot. And so you're asking, what is a data-driven business? I think it's when you have, that's the people in your organization. Those are the types of conversations you have, and those are the skill sets and the acknowledgement of what technology is in your company, right? That it's no longer a call center. your business is technology. And so I think that's the ultimate answer.
Good. Thank you for your message, Seth. It's technology is your business is a good sentence for CGI and for Microsoft as well, for sure. So we have 3 minutes to make a conclusion. So just before, again, thank you so much for your participation, Eric and Seth, because it was really very interesting to have the discussion with you. The last question before stop this meeting. So what is your one key message for manufacturers moving forward? So imagine that what should they be doing Monday morning to secure success? In fact, maybe one or two advice to make a short conclusion. Maybe Eric or Seth, I don't know.
Okay, so I can start. So number one, everybody has to be convinced that you have to become a technology company. And everybody has to be convinced that the genetic code of a manufacturing company is very different than the genetic code of a digital company. You need to acknowledge, understand the specificities of the digital world. And then instead of resisting it, make sure that you are embracing it, right? So really embrace it. And it's not easy. You will have to be schizophrenic between, making products and being fully digital. The last advice is that it's a journey. There is some books. I gave you a name of a new book that is great, and I don't have royalties on this book. It's a journey. Please work with others. We work with ecosystems. Engage with Seth. Ask him questions. Ask him questions about what worked well, what did not work well. Because again, it's a journey where we are all guinea pigs. It's an adventure. The good thing though is that it's not that easy, but you will learn a lot. So if you want to learn, if you are curious, if you want to challenge your mind, I think it's it's the right type of journey that you need to work on.
Great. Thank you so much, Eric. The last word for you, Seth. The last word. Thank you.
Yeah, I think my advice to you all is just to think differently than you have before, to be agile. In my experience, anytime I start on a new innovation, no matter how much I prepare and how much I think I have the answer, I inevitably find out that what I thought was the right answer in the beginning wasn't quite right. And so don't wait until the end to find this out. Incorporate feedback loops into your process to be sure that you're going the right direction. And don't get into echo chambers. Be bold enough, as Eric said, to go outside of your company. Maybe talk to customers, right? Talk to the actual people who would be, buying your products. If you're developing, data products for customers, talk to them actually, face to face, sit with them, understand what they're going through, and really understand on an intimate level what problems you're solving. Don't put barriers between you and them. And I would say be open to being told you were wrong. Being wrong early on is a great thing. Truly it is. It's a lot better to be wrong in the beginning than in the end. And so learn early on where you could make some pivots, make that change, and be right when it counts.
Great. So thank you so much again. This is the time to stop this meeting. So again, thank you so much. Thank you to the public. Thank you for your question. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Eric. Have a good day. And again, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.